Coaches, how's it going? Thanks for coming to hang out and check in with the Coaching Lab. I'm Jack Rolfe, and over the next 20 minutes, we're going to take you through a few ideas, some challenges that we're going to set you for when you can go back out into the amazing work that you're already doing in your schools, in your clubs, in your organisations, wherever you are in Bucks and MK. Number one thing, you're doing an amazing job. You've adapted really well, and we're excited to see where you go next. Keep up the amazing work, and let's go.
They have this wonderful balance that I think is important for leaders in any field. And it's a balance of, on the one hand, that person is in charge. You know, you're the leader, you're in charge. You got to know your stuff. You've got to lay out a vision, and you've got to get people to see that vision. But on the other hand, you've got to be compassionate. You've got to get to know the people who are playing for you or learning from you. They need to know that you care about them. You can't be the old school, my way or the highway these days, I don't think. I think you've got to get to know people on a personal level. You got to develop a relationship. And I mentioned Phil Jackson, Popovich, Coach Olsen. They all had that balance. You were a little bit afraid of them. You know, they were a little intimidating, but you had so much respect for them because of their knowledge. And then you gravitated towards them because they cared about you. They genuinely cared about your well-being. And I think that's a really important balance for anybody in a leadership position.
Alrighty, let's go. Thanks to Steve Kerr for kicking us off there with a few ideas about his reflections of some of his best coaches and the impact they had. It's amazing how, a man who's now working at the elite level, he's seen so many players, seen so many coaches, but he still remembers the coaches, his first ever coaches, and the impact they had. How they cared for him, how they thought about him as an individual, but how they wanted the best out of him. It summarizes everything that we're going to talk about today and the ideas we're going to bring forward to you. You'll see Marcus Rashford on the front page of this presentation. Someone that, whether you're a football fan or not, over the past 6 months, you would have seen a lot about this young man. Still incredibly young, playing for one of the biggest teams in the world. But the self-awareness he's got, the young person. He might not be a coach, but he's definitely a young leader. And the first impressions and the behaviours he gives to everybody around him will leave an incredibly lasting impression. And I think it's fitting that he's the person on the front of this page. We've got 3 areas that we're going to look at today. The lasting impression. So what do we do, or what can we do to leave that impression that will just have such impact for the future? The second thing we're going to look at is, what will your players say about you? And I think it's a great question to reflect on, and we'll explore that shortly. And I'm going to share some reflections from the lessons and the journey that I've been on, because I started in a very similar position to you. A student of the Grange School in Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire, dyslexic, played a bit of hockey, never thought I'd go to university, ended up going to Canterbury Christchurch University, studied sports coaching science, and now working with coaches across the world, based in Perth, Western Australia, and living the absolute dream. So I'm going to share a few lessons from my journey that will hopefully support you and my reflections. But a first little task and challenge for you. I want you to take a couple of minutes, grab a notebook, grab a pen, whatever you've got around you, and I want you to write down, what will the players say about you? So the young people you're working with, and maybe even the co-coaches you're working with, the teachers that you're working with. What will they say about you in those moments when you're not there, behind your back or in the car journey home? What will they say about you? Take a couple of minutes to reflect, and we can go from there. And the reason I asked this question is because someone asked it to me recently. They said, Jack, what will the players say about you? And I really struggled to answer it because I'd never thought of it like that. I'd never flipped it round. I was always thinking about the players, always thinking maybe a little bit about myself, often too much. But the impact we can have on players is incredible. Write down all those things that you wish players would say about you. And then next door to it, write, why would they say that? So if they say you're always happy, why would they say that? Is that because you go and greet them when they come in? Is that because you give them a high five when they do something well? So write down what they'll say about you and why they'll say that about you as well. And at the end of it, I want you to write the date. I want you to write the date, the time, and I want you to sign it. And why do I say that? Because if you write it down in 6 months' time, 12 months, or even 10 years when you're going away and you're coaching your dream job in your dream environment, write down and reflect on what you thought players would say about you. And I would also challenge you, and this is a big challenge, ask the players what they think about you. Ask how you can support them more. Take this picture, for example, Pep Guardiola. And again, have a little think and reflect here about what does his body language tell you? What image is that portraying to the players around him? He's got that deathly stare with his eyes. He's looking across at something. He's making some sort of judgment. And if you're a player in this session, what would you be thinking? Would you be thinking, oh, he's watching me in a positive way, or he's really looking over to me? And then you put yourself in the player's feet and they're playing the game and you're in this negative body language or position. What would you feel like as a player? Would you be the one to express yourself? Would you be the one to try new things? Would you be the one to maybe shout out and communicate and organise your own friends? Or would you kind of go quite closed because you feel there's a bit of pressure from above? Have a little think, and this picture will help you. We then go to the flip side, the complete opposite body language. Pep, one of the biggest and best managers in the world, particularly at the moment. He's reflected on his own appearance. He's changed Man City. He's working with the players around him. But look at it. He's full of smiles. He's got eye contact. He's got open shoulders. He's standing tall. And I really want you to have a think about this and the influence that you have on it. I work with one coach who plans his behaviour. And he says, okay, today I'm going to be really happy to this individual. Or I need to be a little bit tougher on this individual to support them to reach their potential. Begin to have a think when you plan a session and you go out and you deliver a volleyball session or a handball session to the year sevens or wherever it might be in your environment. Just have a think as you plan that session. Plan your behaviour as well. Plan how you're going to look. Where are you going to stand? What impact will that have on the players? And this question, this quote here, sums up probably Pep as a person, but also some of the images we've just seen. Perfection doesn't exist, but you have to look for it anyway. You have to value and love every single individual within the group. I was fortunate enough to recently to go to a Premier League football club and spend some time with their academy coaches. And one coach said, you have to love one thing about every single player. And I thought that was just ideal. It's perfect. That not everyone will be perfect. That perfection doesn't exist. But find the one thing in an individual that you absolutely love about them and make it that perfect thing to take them forward. Okay, a bit of a challenge for you. And again, I hope you've got your notebooks here and we go forward. On the left-hand side, your total favourite teacher, someone that you absolutely loved, without mentioning names, of course. We don't want to get into trouble there. But have a think about your favourite teacher, whether that's in a sporting context or in an academic classroom setting, or even a coach outside of school if you're involved in some extracurricular activities. And then on the flip side, I want you to have a little think about maybe your least favourite. Who is that one teacher or that coach or that helper or whoever it is that you think, what is it? I can't connect with that person. I often feel negative or I don't think they value me. And I want you to write down 3 to 5 things. So 3 to 5 different things for both of these. So your favourite teacher, what attributes, what qualities do they possess? What do they do to be your favourite teacher? And then on the flip side again, 3 to 5 things of your least favourite. Someone that you may struggle to connect with. And I want you to then compare how that then goes. And you'll see a common trend. You'll see what makes someone happy like yourself, because you're writing these down. And then you'll also see the impact that someone else's behavior will have on them. Take a couple of minutes and just write down a few reflections and thoughts. We'll give you one more minute. Awesome. Let's go forward. So here's a few things that I wrote down about some of the people that I thought I really connect with. And I think this teacher and coach really supports me to be the best version I can be of myself. So an expert listener, they'd always listen. What you don't say is often more powerful than what you do say. Have a little think about that. Growth in relationships. I look at my teachers from school. They took me from year 7 as that really quiet, dyslexic kid to someone that believed in me, believed in myself to go forward into university at the end. So it's a journey of relationships. We're not expecting the perfect relationship straight away, but you continue to work on it. Creates continual opportunities. And it's like we said earlier about perfection doesn't exist, but you have to look for it anyway. So what is that one thing in an individual that they want to continue to grow? What is their super strength? And how can you create opportunities for that? One of my favorite quotes, connection before correction. If you're going to give some feedback, you're going to go and correct someone and you're going to support them, get a connection first. And that might be saying their name. It might be a pat on the back. It might be a high five. It might be eye contact. It might be that you actually walk over and have a quiet word rather than shout across. But connection before correction. Values the qualities, values you for the qualities. Again, value the individual within the group. Non-verbal interactions. One of my biggest reflections from a coach, I made my first team debut on a tour to Holland in pre-season, and I was pretty nervous playing against some of the best players in the world and one of the biggest teams in the world. I was 18, 19 at the time, and I didn't really know what to do, but I ran around a lot, and I looked over to the bench, and my coach put a thumbs up to me, and he didn't need to say anything else. The power of that thumbs up probably influenced the player I am now, but also the coach I am now as well. All those things, people are always watching you, so it has a huge impact. And they're also curious thinkers. So a lot of my coaches, and I'm sure a lot of your teachers and coaches as well, they often don't ask you about sport all the time. They ask you about a person or your family or your friends or what you do outside of school or how a certain subject's going. So they're really curious about you as a person and about what you do outside. And if you have a better connection with someone, because through those conversations, it probably makes the harder conversations a lot easier because you're used to talking. And just to finish up, I put these pictures on here and we'll share some examples as we go through. And I'm 24 years old, as I said, dyslexic from the Grange School in Aylesbury, and had no idea where I'd be right now. And running a business that's supported by Virgin Startup and Richard Branson. We get to work with some of the biggest sporting organisations in the world across 33 different countries. Went to university and loved every minute of it and learned so much. And I've done quite a lot in my coaching, and that's all great. But if I had my time again and I wrote a letter to myself, I'd probably say these would be the 6 things that I would think about. I'd smile more than ever, because I think it's incredibly powerful that you have to love every single minute. Coaching is the best job in the world. And it's amazing. You have to love every single minute of it, because one day you might not ever get to coach that game again. Coach every game like it's your last game and just smile more than ever. People win games, not tactics. You can have all the tactics in the world. You can have all this game plan, tactical warfare, all these tactics that you think are going to outwit the opposition. But ultimately, it's the people that win the games and not the tactics. So like we said, continually through this presentation, value the individuals within the group. And that last picture there, that was taken last year at the national finals of an under-16 tournament that we won with St. Lawrence College with the under-16 boys. An incredible competition. And by the age of 24, I'd probably lost 5 national finals almost. And this was the one that we actually won by the end of it. And I just loved every single minute. And that was one of my biggest reflections from the first one to the second, third, fourth, and to the fifth, where we actually ended up winning. Just love every single moment of it. And this last one down here on the left-hand side, Tom Hartley used to work at Arsenal and now works for UK Coaching. And we got connected through the MatchPlay Cards that we created at the Coaching Lab, but just asked lots of questions. So Tom's someone I've learned a lot from the work he's done in prisons, with young people in there and supporting them to go through. But asked lots and lots of questions. And no question is ever stupid. And I know that's a real cliche phrase, but no question is ever stupid. And this last one in the middle there, if you don't ask, you don't get. Ask for absolutely everything. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. But if you don't ask, you don't get. If you want to go and watch a certain coach, or you want to go to a certain environment or ask a certain question, just ask it. And here you'll see Wilfried Zaha as I was getting my morning coffee in London, and he was coming out of the hotel onto the team bus before they went on to play Arsenal. And I thought, if you don't ask, you don't get. So there we go. And that last picture here, and this was the under-14 European Championships in Holland, which, again, grateful to take a lead role in with the players here. But listening is an essential skill. You have to listen. And like we said earlier, what you don't say is often more important. Those moments that you listen, you reflect, and you don't rush into your words. And finally, here's a few podcasts that I've listened to, and being dyslexic, I struggle with all the reading and finding the time to concentrate sometimes. But here's a few sporting podcasts that are from 20 minutes in length to half an hour to an hour, with just some super cool coaches in all different sports. And I'd really encourage you to just have a go and just have a listen. You take the Eddie Jones podcast. It's 30 minutes of absolute gold dust, which is super easy listening. For your football fans, the Gaffer Tapes, where they speak to some of the biggest Premier League managers and they just talk about coaching. They just talk about sport. The Psychology Show there with Dan Abrahams, just all about little things that will support you as coaches. You can put them on in your afternoon run, or if you go to the gym, or as you're doing some homework or whatever, but they're super easy listening, and I'm sure you'll get lots from them. Thanks so much for your time. As I said earlier, keep up the amazing work. If anyone has any questions, wants to ask absolutely anything, or even just to chat about coaching, feel free to get in touch. More than happy to speak to your teachers, to yourselves, to share any more reflections with you, because I think it's important that we help young people like yourselves keep doing the amazing work. I'm going to leave you with one message, and I'm going to leave that message to Jurgen Klopp to leave. Thanks a lot, and keep up the great work.
No, just because they have to play a football game, and football is a game, and you have to play that with freedom. In the beginning, for example, when a new player is coming in, I don't give them any information. It's like, let them play, let's learn, that I learn about him, what he's doing naturally, and what we want to adjust, and what we want to leave with him, and what we want to stop him doing, and stuff like that. So you learn more about your players each day, and you know how to treat them, how to deal with them. A lot happens in the one-on-one talk, actually, but that's with the player and with the team. There are more things to do, and they're then all in the right shape and in the right position, and you try to help 11 players to do the right things in the right moment, actually. There are two reasons why I'm so energetic on the sideline. One is my character, obviously. I'm already much calmer than I used to be, to be honest. I'm kind of the reserve tank for the boys. When they feel the energy level goes a bit down, then I'm still there and can kick their butt or whatever they need in this moment. It's better to be angry with me than to think, oh, it's too intense today. So you need always something like a response. So how I understand, I needed that as a player as well. So for the boys, I think they are meanwhile used to it. That because I look always, if I give some credit or some compliments, it looks exactly the same way. Then when I shout something not so positive on the pitch, that's my problem with the face. So, but meanwhile, they are used to it.